Dobar dan svima, dobrodošli na drugu Evropsku nedelju mogućnosti. Vidim da ima još zainteresovanih i da se postavljaju stolice, ali evo krenut ćemo sa događajem da ne gubimo vreme. Sigurna sam da svi i nazad čujete šta će se ovde zbivati i da ćete videti. Od danas, dakle, pa sve do petka, 27. septembra, Beograd i Niš, gradovi su u kojima se održavaju programi ove nedelje mogućnosti. I kao i prošle godine, bit će ovo prilika da vas upoznamo sa fondovima Evropske unije namenjene studentima, mladima, privredi, nevladinom sektoru. Razgovaramo dakle ovde uživo u Evropskoj kući u Beogradu, a sve može da se prati putem online platforme na sajtu eumogućnosti.rs, odnosno na YouTube-u. Na ovoj prvoj infosesiji govorimo o podršci Evropske unije malim i srednjim preduzećima, sa čime će vas upoznati Nikola Bertolini, šef sektora za saradnju delegacije Evropske unije u Srbiji. On će vam prvo predstaviti šta to sve podrazumeva, a potom će biti prilike da postavite pitanja. Okay, Mr. Bertolini, after this introduction, I will give you a chance to give us some more details about this program.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, and welcome to everybody to European House. This house is a novelty in town, and I think this week also represents a first good opportunity to make it live. European Union and private sector are two important elements of what we are doing here in Serbia. In order to boost economic development to the Serbian economy, our support to private sector is an important element, and it will continue to be an important element. You can create development by helping industry and small and medium enterprises via different means. And what I will present today is that the European Union is so good to all private sector in Serbia that we have a long menu. And we heard before that an important element is how much grant we provide. And indeed, we are also, in my opinion, too good in order to tailor-make our assistance via different programs that tackle different type of enterprises which demand different percentage of grant in their investment in their program. You know that in a perfect world, we should not use grant for financing the private sector. There should be the commercial banks who are an important factor of the fact that still in Serbia this is limited, and still in Serbia we need to use grants also for private companies. So this is why in the last 10 years, if we consider that around 4 billion euro from the European Union came to Serbia to benefit the whole country, to benefit the public administration, to benefit the investments, the infrastructure investments, and all what we do, at least 25 to 30% of the 4 billion went directly to the private sector in Serbia. So we are not China, we are not Russia, we are not the United States, but we are the European Union, who, as part of their internal policy, have development and private sector support as an important element that is being addressed through the pre-accession period, but also it will be mostly addressed in the post-accession period. What we do now is to prepare Serbia to become a European Union member state, and the programs we use are mirroring what will happen when Serbia will become a member state, with only one small difference. All what we do today is about 1/10 of what the funds should represent when Serbia will be a member state. So imagine how much more benefits private sector, infrastructure, social programs will receive via European funds. So we strengthen the private sector, focus on the SME, which represent more than 97% of all enterprises in Serbia, and this in order to bring Serbia closer to the European Union. We use reforms, capacity building, we use investments, and we are also using cooperation in order to have a better trade of these companies. So I was saying that almost 25 to 30%, so more than 1 billion euro, has been addressed in the last 10 years through the Serbia productive sector. And this 1 billion could be also seen as dividing 250 million in support of research innovation. Indeed, we have an important programs there, and I will talk to you about later. 230 million euro through the EPARD program. You see, with only from 2014 to 2024 or 23, we were able to reach 1,350 agricultural farms with more than 125 million euro. Still many are coming, and we need the agencies doing this to accelerate the absorption of funds. 1 billion euro also through WBIF. We'll have later on a specific section on this. WBIF has the important element that it is channeled through international financial institutions, EIB, European Investment Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, KfW, AFD, etc. And these are themselves channeling funds through the local commercial banks. So 1 billion euro from there, and then also all the EU program. Imagine that only Horizon is so successful for Serbia that more than 135 million euro have been absorbed by universities, study centers, excellence fund, etc. So we are also dealing with reforms, and in these reforms we are working with World Bank on specific business environment in Serbia. We are working with EBRD on competitiveness policy priorities. This is part of our support because we understand that both in the regulatory environment and in the legal environment, there are steps that still Serbia has to go in order to become good for the European internal market. What we do indeed is to support Serbia and the Serbia SMEs to be able to cope with what the internal market rules are. And this goes from the legal regulatory environment to the environment, because also we know that environment is at the top of our policy agenda, and environment should be respected also by the Serbian economy once the country will be part of the European Union. You know also by now that soon, very soon, we are going to sign a reform agenda with the government of Serbia. This reform agenda is part of a growth plan that we launched 1 year ago and has different pillars. The first two pillars are economic pillars. They are related to the internal market, So how to render Serbia already part of some elements of the internal market even before accession. And the other one is for the regional market, how to better integrate the markets of the Western Balkans region in order then to be able to cope with the internal market rules. We have different examples, green lanes, so how the goods are transported and pass the borders of the Western Balkan countries, how it's different from what is now and what it should be. What are the waiting time at the borders? All these elements influence the private sector and the trade. We have also SEPA, the Single European Payment Agency, which makes possible to have a transfer of funds from the European Union to Serbia and vice versa with no cost. This would be an enormous benefit, calculated about 1% of GDP for the Serbian economy. And then, or other. But the reform agenda that will provide Serbia with almost 1.6 billion euro in the next 4 years, 2/3 of this via a very low concessional rate loan, and 1/3 through grants, will also bring benefits because the almost 100 steps we have in order to pay Serbia are reforms that the country has to go through. And the reforms also include rule of law, include anti-corruption, include public procurement, the state-owned enterprises, the skills and the labor measures, so include all elements that directly impact also the private sector and directly impact how the public sector is working with the private sector. So we are talking about different programs with different rate of grant co-financing, with different bodies. We are very good to make a lot of confusion in the public. As I said, it's like a restaurant which has a very long menu. Tell us what do you need, and we have the right program for that. So we have programs managed by the delegation. We have programs managed by the Minister of Finance. We have programs managed by our colleagues in Brussels via the International Financial Institution. We have all sorts of programs. Let's name some of those. Program for purchase of equipment, you had a full panel just before that. It's a successful program. It's one of our flagship programs. Now, the new phases will concentrate on green investments and digital. So not only change your equipment because they are old and they consume more energy, but also they have to be in line with our policy on green. Then there is research innovation grants. We work very well with both the State Innovation Fund and the State Science Fund. Both are great initiatives that can absorb our funds as well because we share the objectives. We share the objectives that innovation and the research are the very important element of economic development. You cannot develop your economy if you're not able also to innovate. So these two funds are channeling also various grades of grant co-financing to scientific institutions, but also to companies that are innovating with the product, and then they also enter the product in the market. An example is the catapult, which is functioning like a spin-off towards private sector. So we found an institution, we found local institutions that then are giving products to private sector to innovate. But also we have EU for Green Agenda, which is a program only for the green investments, which are circular economy, biodiversity, are climate change, and this is managed by the time being by UNDP, but we have to find good national bodies to do it. And I think this is one of the tasks we have in front of us. Then the EU Pro Plus. The EU Pro Plus is going where not many of you are going, to all the south, the east, and the west of Serbia that deserve a lot. Remember that Serbia is now around 40 to 44% of the average GDP of the European Union. But the south, the east, and the west are about 16 to 20%. Belgrade is above all. Then there is Vojvodina, which is not great as the average, is a bit below. And then there are the south, east, and west. EU Pro Plus had the courage and the initiative to work with local municipalities, to work with local companies, to work with local civil society organizations. And this is coming from the past, EU Progress, EU Pro, EU Pro Plus. Now we are going to the future, in which also an important actor will be the Standing Conference for Towns and Municipalities. So this program is targeting the most vulnerable in the local. And I visit companies that received up to 90% of grant. Why? Because there are vulnerable people, because there are women entrepreneurs, because there are young people being engaged. There are elements that make us becoming better and better. More solidarity, more towards the most vulnerable, because also they deserve to be included in the development. So all these programs are incredibly important for our country, but I could not stop saying how many programs we have without mentioning particularly the EPARD program. The EPARD program, which locally is also sometimes criticized because of the very long procedures, while the EPARD program is using national bodies. It's not us. It's national bodies, depending to a Minister of Agriculture, the managing authority, and the EPARD agency, who are there to help all the farmers with all the needs. Unfortunately, it was remembered very well as the program to purchase tractors. I don't know how many tractors we see all around the country that have EU logo on it. Of course, but there are many other type of investments. For instance, I've been recently with an investment that was made on pepper. And the pepper, I can tell you, are delicious. Not only because of EPA, but because of their way to grow peppers. Anyway, WBIF, you will have a detailed presentation this afternoon. You see all these different acronyms, EFS, ADIF, NF, FZ+, GGF, RIP, are all made in order to confuse you. Because each one is managed by a different IFI, each one has a different importance. One is energy efficiency, one is industrial development. So, but you will have a full presentation. And I think it's important to note that there is a growing demand. Why these programs are important? Because these programs are using the local banks. Soon, we will be out of Serbia, because it means that Serbia will become a member state. Soon, we have to count on public institutions, Innovation Fund, Development Agency, Science Fund, but also the local commercial banks, because they have to trust more and more the companies. They have to lower their requirements. And we are there to support this matching between the financial sector and the economic sector. So this program will become, and then we have the EU programs, which are very important in Serbia. I mentioned before Horizon for scientific and research. Serbia is extremely successful. Serbia budget also finance Horizon. It will be also said later on. And it's an important program in order to match your scientific people with European and other countries in order to develop good models of research and to be able to compete in the global market. But then we have innovation financing, InvestEU, digital, enterprise, all these are different tailored programs that are managed by Brussels, have a global importance, in which Serbian stakeholders can participate and participate a lot. We also support with payment of a ticket that Serbia has to pay in order to be able to benefit from all these EU programs. And we are also supporting with technical advice in order to promote these programs largely enough. So I will not go again to the details that I already mentioned. Of course, this is the base for the regional program to work between lending. So we have programs that lend, we have programs that invest equity, we have programs that makes guarantees available. All this will be explained later. So these are the famous names that are explain what they are. It's a very big menu, as I said. So this is what it is present, and it will be more and more available. Now, I would only stop here because I think you might have questions, and I'm very open to all questions you have. Thank you.
Our idea was to give a chance to audience to ask you some questions, and I will give you around 2 or 3 minutes to ask some questions if you would like to. Dakle, ideja je bila da ostavimo prostor za pitanja, međutim, budući da smo krenuli nešto kasnije, sada baš i nema mnogo vremena za to, zato ću vas pozvati da koristite networking prostor kod glavnog ulaza, dakle, na ovom prvom spratu, da razgovarate tu sa ljudima koji su danas tu, koji su vam na raspolaganju, koji predstavljaju programe i projekte, ali evo, hajde da damo priliku možda za 2 pitanja koje ima sada iz publike. Izvolite.
Hello, thank you for joining the presentation and intro to the entire day. Thank you. For the reasons of protecting my idea or whatnot, the business endeavor, I would ask this question: how much can be done on the corruption? Because I don't want to account for 10% of the grant to some person who will tell me in time to apply to the program because and that is an issue still here in Serbia, and it is an obstacle for many. How much can be done and what can be done?
Yes, we saw a fight against corruption in your plans.
Yes, yes, yes.
This is interesting, yeah?
Indeed. The fighting against corruption cannot be done by a European body like Olaf or like others coming here and making lessons on how it should be the general behavior in approaching anybody taking decision in the public sector. The tackling of corruption has important element in repression. First investigation, then repression, then also in awareness. We found that corruption is embraced into the Serbian environment, but I would say also in my country is there. So it's not something that we could reasonably erase completely and become like Norway. I also think in Norway there is some corruption as well. So what we do is to work with the national institutions, okay? There is an agency for the fight against corruption, which is very weak, and we are supporting them with technical capacity. There is a Minister of Justice dealing with a strategy for anti-corruption, and in the reform agenda, we included this as an important element of the conditions for getting funds from European Union, and in particular is the implementation of an action plan that is being compiled right now. The strategy for fighting against corruption has been adopted, the action plan still not, and we envisage support in capacity and technical building for the implementation of this action plan. So anti-corruption is extremely important. We cannot allow corruption, but we need the Serbs to fight for this. We cannot fight from Brussels.
Thank you very much. Ukoliko nema više pitanja, ja bih vas zamolila da ovde, da razumete, što ćemo ovde završiti, i zamolila bih vas da ostanete ovde nadalje, budući da će biti reči upravo i o digitalizaciji, o projektu Digitalna Evropa, dakle o jednom takođe važnom segmentu koji je ovde malo pre pominjen. Hvala gospodinu Nikoli Bertolini.